Hellcat.
Hello and welcome back to the channel where once again it's that time to delve into the Saturn's PAL library and review our next game. Now, many people wouldn't know, but I was a big fan of snowboarding games back in the late 90s when we had Snowboard Kids, and Cool Boarders 2 was a personal favourite of mine. I moved on to the SSX games for PS2 and really enjoyed them. So when I was building my Saturn collection back up, obviously I was looking forward to getting a hold of this game, and that game is Steep Slope Sliders. It's the only snowboarding game to my knowledge on the Saturn, so I was really looking forward to playing it. But how does it hold up all these years later? Is it still as good as it was back then? Now, it got pretty good scores when it originally came out, so I was genuinely looking forward to playing it. So sit back, relax and enjoy my review of Steep Slope Sliders. Straight away we're met with the intro, which is a polygon-based intro using the in-game graphics, something that a lot of other snowboarding games actually didn't do at the time. And I stated in my Sega Rally review quite a long time ago now that I always think it's cool when they use the in-game graphics to do your intros videos, and it really does. Starts out the game pretty well. You get to know what the graphics engine's like, shows you some cool tricks on the tracks, and it genuinely makes the game look pretty exciting and like it's going to be able to give you a pretty thrilling snowboarding experience. So once you've got past the intro and you hit the main menu, you're met with Steep Slope Sliders and the press start button. And once you get past that, you just see it's got start and options. Not much to go by on the options menu. Very little options, if I'm perfectly honest. You've got ranking, so you can look at the high scores for the tracks. Pretty self-explanatory. You've got replays where you can watch replays. You've got sound test, listen to the music and stuff. Time progression means it won't turn into nighttime if you turn it off, and that is it for options. And then you head into start, and you are instantly met with the fact that the game doesn't have a main mode of play. It is literally just individual tracks, and you just go do them one at a time to try and get a time and a high score, and that is the whole entire game, believe it or not. There are 4 regular characters to choose from. They are named in the manual, but they don't have names on the actual game. There are 4 additional characters as well. Again, these characters do not have names, but they're pretty easy to unlock, if I'm perfectly honest. Now, there's a selection of 4 standard courses, followed by an alpine course, a half pipe, and a sort of like a snowboard park. That is it, your 7 courses. There are 4 additional courses, which are very easy to unlock, if I'm honest. I'll talk more about that when I get onto the lifespan of the game. So, like I usually tend to do, I'm going to talk about what the game looks like to begin with. The game's not a bad looking Saturn game, and one thing I noticed about it when I was playing it is that it's quite a smooth running game. It hasn't got a lot of sort of like polygon glitching and breakup that perhaps a certain other snowboarding game had over on the PlayStation, and it runs pretty well. It's pretty smooth. It's not outstanding though. I probably expected more, if I'm perfectly honest, by a 1998 release. Obviously, it came out in late 1997 in Japan, but it came out in midway through 1998 over here. The courses don't have enough variety in their graphics, I don't think. I don't think the textures around the scenery are particularly good. I don't think the characters actually look that great. They're not awful. I just kind of felt, I expected more, to be honest. The shadows underneath the characters look garbage as well. They're just that mesh effect, which I hate. I would much rather just have a black or dark grey solid shadow, even if it is an obscure part of the track. I just tend to think that looks better. You know, overall, it's definitely not a terrible looking game, but I think what brings it down is the fact that the courses don't have enough variety in the scenery, and the characters don't have enough actual characters to themselves. They don't don't really stand out much from one another. I know you've got a girl and you've got 3 guys, and then you've got the 4 additional ones, but it just, the graphics of them don't really do it for me. It just doesn't really impress me, if I'm perfectly honest. Now, sound effects are pretty few and far between on the game, if I'm perfectly honest. There aren't really that many. What is there is fine, it does the job. The sound of the snowboard going on the snow or hitting a tree, there's not really a lot else there. Music, though, is something I can talk about, because there's 11 tracks of music in the game, and actually, they fit the game really well. They have the perfect kind of music that what you'd expect to hear on a snowboarding game. And I'm not really going to talk about it too much. I thought, well, the best thing I can do is just play you a few examples. So here we go. Sit back, relax, and enjoy a bit of Steep Slope Sliders music. Now, talking about how the game plays, it plays pretty good. A is jump, B with the direction will pull off a grab, of which your character has 4 grabs unique to themselves, and the C button, when pressed with the direction, will pull off a backflip or a front flip, basically. Now, using the R and L buttons will try and turn your board harder when you get around corners, and also pull off the rotational tricks in the air as well. So you can mix those up with grabs and the backflips and stuff to create different moves. There's a reasonable amount of moves in the game. Definitely not as many as Cool Borders 2, but what is in here works well. It's relatively easy to pull off tricks, if I'm perfectly honest. The controls aren't probably the crispest or tightest. The game is a bit floaty, I feel. Can be a bit frustrating when your character doesn't quite have his board straight, as you have to keep rotating L and R to get it back on track. That's a little bit irritating. And as well as what I was going to say is the camera kind of sort of like tilts a bit when you're moving, and it is a bit off-putting, if I'm perfectly honest. It's not quite as rigid as I would like it to be. But in terms of the way it plays overall, it plays fairly good. I've played worse snowboarding games, put it that way. I've definitely played worse. It's not the best playing snowboarding game in the world, and I kind of feel like there's not enough trick variety as well, if I'm perfectly honest. It just kind of anchors it down a little bit. It's not bad. It's definitely not the worst playing snowboarding game ever. Go! So I've spoken about the graphics, the way it looks, the way it sounds, the way it plays. The only thing that's left to talk about is the game's lifespan. And unfortunately for Steep Slope Sliders, this is what absolutely cripples the game. As I spoke about briefly at the start of the video, there's no main mode of play. There's no one-player career mode, competition mode, story mode, anything at all like that. It's simply just an exhibition where you pick a race, you go down there, you get a time, you get a point score for that track, that course, and that is it. That is the whole game. Now, I said there were additional characters to unlock, and there's 4 additional courses as well, and then there are 4 additional characters that you can use on top of the 4 extra ones. And that sounds like a reasonable amount of unlockable stuff, but unfortunately, within 10 minutes of playing the game, I had it unlocked. Now, to unlock the 4 additional characters, all you had to do was beat the record time on 2 of the tracks, and then beat the point score on 2 other tracks, and that was it. You had access to the 4 additional characters, and then to get access to the 4 additional tracks and the other 4 characters, you simply have to hold R and L when you select a course, one of the 4 main courses, and you will load up on the extra courses, all 4 of which are absolute garbage and they're not worth playing. Although I do believe the Astro Pipe is pretty good because you've got no gravity, you kind of float up loads and you're able to pull off the maximum amount of tricks you will ever be able to do on the game. That course is actually good for doing that. The other 3 courses are all absolute crap, if I'm perfectly honest. They're there for novelty value and not really for playing. The 4 additional characters, they're, you know, very generic. Some of them can't do grabs, some of them can't do tricks properly, and I don't know why that is. There's no explanation anywhere for it. Obviously, they're not mentioned in the manual. There's no explanation of a character's abilities in the game. Now, I mentioned, of course, there are 4 additional characters on top of those 4 extra characters, and you simply have to keep R or L held whilst you're selecting one of those, and you'll load up as a UFO or a flat pixelated 2D character. Now, those characters are, again, absolutely terrible. You can't really get any enjoyment of playing with them. It baffles me why they were even put in the game. If I'm perfectly honest, I would have much rather have had a 2-player split screen mode. That would have been highly beneficial for this game, or a 1-player career mode. Another thing that affects the lifespan is the fact you're just on the track by yourself. There are no people to race against, no people to compete against for points or anything. And I can't emphasize how much this cripples the game. The fact that it only takes 10 minutes to unlock the extra content as well means that Steep Slope Sliders feels nothing more than a glorified demo. If I'm perfectly honest, that's what it genuinely feels like, and that is what brings it down massively. Like I said, it's not a bad looking game, it's not a bad playing game, the music's pretty cool, it's pretty good, it suits the game really well. But the lifespan, oh my word, it cripples this game. And I'm not sure how it quite managed to get the scores it did when it came out. A lot of places reviewed it 70-80% of the scores. And they must not have taken into account back then lifespan and the fact that it's got no modes of play, because we've had other snowboarding games that offered so much more before this. So it's a bit confusing how it got released with so little content, but hey ho, it is what it is. If you like your snowboarding games, then you may well get a bit of enjoyment about with it, because there aren't any other options, I don't think, on the Saturn, not in the PAL regions anywhere. Not 100% sure if there's any other Japanese only snowboarding games. None spring to mind off the top of my head. That is it for today, though. That has been my review of Steep Slope Sliders. Do you agree? Do you think I'm a little bit harsh on it, maybe? Maybe I am, but, you know, I'm comparing it to other snowboarding games at the time, really, in my head, and it just doesn't quite stack up. That is it for today. Thank you for watching. Leave any comments you've got about this game or about the video in general down below, and I will be back soon for another Saturn review. Goodbye for now.